Vera Skal stumbled through the abandoned market district of Ether 7, her stomach a hollow drum of pain. The once bustling bazaar lay silent under a copper sky, its metal stalls dented and dusty. Broken hollow ads flickered on cracked screens, offering wares that no one could buy. Vera clutched the last shred of her ration card, mind racing with fear. She had no credits left, and the colony's patrol drones would soon mark her as a trespasser. Hunger drove her onward, every so often. She paused at a shuttered stall and pressed her hand to her belly. The ache was cold and sharp, and she imagined the taste of fresh bread she had eaten years ago on her home world. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them away. There was no time for sorrow. If she didn't find food before nightfall, she would collapse in the dead streets and no one would find her until morning. Vera had once been a cartographer, mapping the unclaimed reaches of distant moons. She had sailed through starlight, charting new frontiers with a steady hand and keen mind. But when the mining guild took over her ship, she had lost more than her job. They seized her vessel as payment for debts she did not owe. Now she was stranded on this red desert world, her skills wasted and her future stolen. A soft hum broke her thoughts. She ducked behind a mangled transport pod as a patrol drone glided past, its servos clicking. The drone scanned the rubble with a cold blue beam before drifting away. Vera waited until the drone's hum faded, then pressed herself against the wall, trembling. Each patrol made it harder to scavenge supplies. The colony's rule was clear: no scavenging, no begging. Defy the rule and you were deported, or worse. Sheltering in the half-shaded alley, Vera counted her remaining rations. One wafer, crackling like dry earth in her palm. She remembered how she had traded her last credits for it 2 days ago. Now, even that single wafer would not last through the morning. She looked down at the buried pipes and cracked pavement, willing them to yield something edible. A stray energy cell, a half-used hydro pack, anything. In desperation, she climbed onto a crate and peered over the stall's shutter. At the far end of the market was the barter hall, a cramped room where colonists posted messages for trade. Some offered water for repair parts or food for simple labor. Vera had avoided the hall until now. Pride rose in her chest, but hunger was stronger. She scrambled down, her heart pounding with fear and shame. Inside the barter hall, the air smelled of recycled oxygen and stale sweat. Walls of metal and plexiglass held countless postings: hydro pack for medkit, spare battery for clean water, labor for ration share. Vera picked an empty slot and scrawled a trembling note. "We'll offer personal companionship. In exchange for food, no harm, just need to eat." She signed the note with her name and the symbol of her old cartography guild, a faded star. Folding the paper, she placed it between 2 thin metal plates and slid it into the rack. Her fingers shook as she stepped back, her chest tight with dread. What had she done? This act, born of desperation, could ruin her honor and risk the patrol's wrath. As Vera backed toward the door, she overheard gruff voices. 2 colonists inspected the postings, one shaking his head. "Always someone dumb enough to lower themselves," he said. The other shrugged. "Can't blame them. Food's harder to find than water these days." They passed on without noticing her. Vera exhaled slowly and slipped out into the twilight. Outside, the sky had turned a deeper shade of red, and the ground pulsed with the planet's heat. The colony's power grid hummed in the distance, a reminder of the tightly controlled life here. Vera pressed her hand to the symbol stamped on her neck, proof she had once been a free pilot. Now it meant nothing. Survival demanded more. She walked until she reached a shattered water tower. Sitting atop a spur of broken concrete, Vera watched the stars blink into existence. Each one seemed so distant, so cold, and yet they held the promise of other worlds. On her homeworld, she would have laughed as she dreamed of distant galaxies. Now she could barely muster a smile. Hunger gnawed at her resolve. She wrapped her arms around her middle and pulled her coat tighter. The temperature was falling, and the night air carried sharp edges. Vera whispered to herself, "Hold on, just hold on." She would wait until someone responded to her plea. There was no other choice. As the first patrol beacon swept the sky, Vera closed her eyes and tried to steady her breath. Tomorrow, she thought, will bring change. Tomorrow someone will answer. And until then she would survive, no matter what it cost her. As dawn's first light touched the rust-red sands of Ether 7, Vera Sakal stirred from her uneasy sleep among the broken crates. Her body ached with hunger and fatigue, but a small spark of hope glimmered in her chest. She had agreed to wait at the barter hall until someone responded to her plea. Now she wondered if anyone would ever come. Vera brushed the dust from her coat and stepped through the silent market district. Her eyes darted between empty stalls and shuttered windows. The air smelled of hot metal and old sweat. She reached the barter hall and slipped inside, heart pounding. The cramped room looked the same. Walls of dull steel lined with message racks. Morning light filtered through a narrow window high on one wall. She found her note still in place. Fingers trembling, she slid it out and read it again. "We'll offer personal companionship in exchange for food. No harm, just need to eat." Vera Sakal her cheeks warmed with shame. She folded the paper and tucked it into her coat. Surely, no one worthy of trust would answer that. She would wait a little longer, then take down the note and try another plan. Hunger made her head swim as she considered her options. A soft ping echoed through the room. Vera spun around. A single holopad lay on a small table in the corner, its screen glowing with a new message. She swallowed hard, dread twisting her stomach. She closed her eyes and then forced herself to look. The message read, "Meet at stall 12 at 1500 hours. Bring nothing. Elias Hart." Stall 12 was only a few steps away. Vera clasped her hands to still their shaking. Elias Hart? That sounded like a human name. She did not know what to expect, but hunger cried louder than fear, so she nodded to herself and left the hall. The market district lay quiet under the high sun. Vera moved toward stall 12, keeping to the shadow of crumbling walls. Stall 12 was a small enclave under a tattered canopy. A single chair waited inside, and behind it stood a man in dust-streaked clothes. He looked human with dark hair and warm brown eyes. She approached slowly. Her boots kicked up small puffs of sand. The man rose and offered her a gentle nod. "Miss Sakal?" he asked, voice calm and measured. Vera glanced at her folded note, then back at him. "Yes," she said, voice barely more than a whisper. You replied to my message." He nodded again. His eyes were kind, not harsh. "Please have a seat," he said, motioning to the chair. "I brought something for you." Vera hesitated, then sank into the chair. Her hands trembled as she watched him reach into a battered backpack. He pulled out a small insulated case and set it on the stall's metal counter. With careful movements, he opened it, revealing thick slices of dark bread, fresh fruit, and a steaming flask of soup. Vera's eyes widened. You didn't have to," she stammered. Elias offered a small smile. "You need food. That's enough reason for me." He poured the soup into a shallow bowl and handed it to her. The steam rose in gentle wisps, carrying a scent of herbs and warmth. Vera lifted the bowl with both hands. She bowed her head and drank, letting the liquid soothe the fire in her belly. With each spoonful, her tension melted away. The bread was soft, warm, and fragrant. She bit into it carefully, tasting grains she had not known in days. The fruit was juicy and sweet, a burst of flavor that reminded her of home. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back. Elias watched her kindly. "Take your time," he said. "There's plenty." When she finished the soup, Vera set the bowl down and exhaled. The ache in her chest had eased, replaced by a gentle warmth. She looked up at him. "Thank you," she said, voice thick. I don't know how to repay you." He shook his head. "No repayment needed." He glanced at the empty street. "I've learned that kindness can change everything. You shouldn't have to sell yourself for food." His words made Vera's heart skip. They fell into easy silence. Vera wrapped her hands around the bowl to absorb its heat. The morning light shone through the canopy, casting soft patterns on the metal floor. For the first time in days, Vera felt safe. After a while, Elias reached into his pack again and pulled out a small data pad. "Here," he said, handing it to her. "I want to share something. My home world has learned how to grow food on barren planets. We use modular hydropods." He tapped the screen and diagrams of compact greenhouses appeared. "If you stay with me, I'll let you help set up these pods. You have skill with maps, right? Your cartography could help plan farm layouts in new colonies." Vera's eyes shone with surprise. You want me to work with you?" Elias nodded. "I'd like that. You could have a better future than this." He smiled gently. "But for now, just rest. Eat more if you want." She opened her mouth to argue, but warmth spread through her chest. Instead, she nodded. "Thank you," she said again. Over the next hour, they talked quietly. Elias asked about her past work, and Vera shared stories of charting moon caves and mapping cosmic storms. In turn, he described life as a trader, the lonely nights on distant stations, and the joy of discovering new markets. Their voices blended with the soft creaks of shifting metal around them. As the sun climbed higher, the market district brightened. Vera realized that she no longer felt alone. Elias stood and gathered his things. He folded the canopy neatly and shouldered his pack. "Come with me," he said. "I want to show you something." He offered his hand. Vera hesitated only a moment, before taking it. His grip was steady and firm, but not rough. She let him lead her through the silent stalls and toward a waiting hover sled parked on cracked pavement. As they glided away from the barter hall, Vera looked back once at the empty stall. In her hand, she still gripped the bowl's edge as though it held not just soup, but a lifeline. Elias glanced at her and smiled. She returned the smile, a real one this time. For the first time since she arrived on Ether 7, Vera believed that kindness could open doors she had thought forever closed. And as the red sand sped past beneath the sled, she dared to hope that tomorrow held more than survival. It might hold a new beginning. The hover sled hummed over cracked pavement. As Vera clutched the edge of her seat, the wind whipped her hair, carrying the scent of hot metal and distant engines. Elias drove with steady hands, his eyes on the road ahead. They left the empty stalls of the market behind and entered a narrow canyon of rust-colored rock. At the canyon's mouth, a small caravan of linked trailers and solar panels waited like a wandering oasis. Vera's heart fluttered with curiosity. Elias led her to the largest trailer, its door propped open by a length of driftwood. Step by step, Vera climbed inside. The interior glowed with soft LED panels overhead. Potted plants lined one wall, small green shoots reaching toward the light. Against another wall, a long table held oil-stained star charts and data pads. A neatly folded coat and a pair of gloves lay on a chair. The whole space, though simple, felt warm and welcoming. "You can stay here," Elias said, offering her the coat. "It's yours now." His smile was gentle, as if he truly meant she belonged. Vera hesitated, then accepted the coat. The fabric was soft and clean, a comfort she had not felt in days. She pulled it on and felt the weight of kindness pressing gently on her shoulders. For the first time, she did not worry about theft or danger. Elias showed her around. He pointed out the tiny hydroponic bay where they grew fresh greens for salad. He tapped the control console beside the star charts and explained how he planned routes between mining outposts. Vera's map-shaded fingers itched to touch the charts and add her own marks. Elias noticed. "You have a gift," he said, gesturing to the blank spaces. "Help me fill in these gaps." He handed her a stylus. Vera settled at the table and began to trace her first lines, a neat arc denoting a safe pass through an asteroid field. Elias watched her concentration, nodding in approval. Each mark felt like a small victory against her past helplessness. Once her work was done, Elias invited her to try some human humor. He pulled up a short hollow clip. Two humans juggling food rations on a colony ship. The clip ended with both slipping on spilled soup, sending bowls clattering. Elias chuckled, the sound warm and genuine. Vera blinked, uncertain, then let a small smile escape. The image of two humans slipping on soup struck her as absurd and harmless. In the trailer's soft light, she laughed. Her laughter was small at first, but it grew. Elias joined in, and the sound bounced off the metal walls. Vera felt a tight knot in her chest loosen. That night she dreamed of starships dancing through deep space, her laughter echoing in their empty corridors. When she woke, the knot was gone. In its place was a quiet courage. Over the next few days, Vera worked alongside Elias. She checked power couplings on the trailer's solar array and scanned the hydropods for nutrient balance. Each task built her confidence. Elias never belittled her or rushed her. He offered gentle guidance, each comment spoken with patience. When she made a minor error in the hydropod settings, he showed her calmly how to correct it. There was no anger, no punishment, only understanding. In the cooler evenings, they sat outside under the copper sky. Elias brewed a simple tea from dried leaves and shared stories of his travels. He spoke of distant moons with purple dunes and swirling storms, of bustling spaceports where merchants bartered for rare minerals. Vera listened, mesmerized. She told him about charting the crystal caves of her homeworld, describing the glow of luminescent fungi that lit the tunnels in soft blues and greens. Elias leaned forward, eyes bright with interest. Their hands brushed as they passed the tea flask between them. Vera's breath caught for a moment, but she did not pull away. Instead, she felt warmth ripple through her fingertips. Under the alien sky, she no longer felt like a desperate stranger. She felt seen, and slowly, she began to see herself as more than her hunger. One morning, Elias handed her a simple tool belt and a set of basic supplies. "Tomorrow we start mapping the next supply route," he said. "I want you by my side." Vera accepted the belt, fastening the pouches around her waist. As she did, she realized that she had a place here, a role that respected her skills and valued her presence. No more hidden corners in a dusty market. No more shame. As the sun rose over Ether 7's red horizons, Vera stepped out of the trailer alongside Elias. Together they climbed onto the sled and set off toward a distant ridge. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, Vera faced it with steady resolve, bolstered by human kindness and the promise of a gentle partnership. Their journey had only just begun, but already Vera understood that true survival meant community, trust, and the courage to open one's heart. A low rumble broke the quiet of dawn as Vera and Elias guided the hover sled across the red dunes. The sky was a pale copper, and the wind carried fine dust that stung Vera's cheeks. She scanned the horizon for dangers, but only the endless desert lay before them. Elias pointed toward a distant ridge. "That's our next waypoint," he said. "After that, we set up a relay beacon." Vera nodded, feeling a surge of purpose. For a moment, the world was simple. 2 travelers, 1 machine, and a map waiting to be filled. Suddenly, the sled shuddered. Elias's eyes widened. Vera heard a sharp whistle from behind them. "Hunters," Elias muttered. He tapped the console and the sled veered to a stop. Vera's heart pounded. She peered back over her shoulder and saw 3 patrol crafts slicing across the dunes, their searchlights cutting bright lines through the morning haze. Someone must have alerted them. Vera gripped the sled's handle as Elias flipped a switch, lowering a thin energy shield around them. The hunters' crafts came in fast, sending clouds of dust swirling. One craft fired a warning pulse that rattled the sled's frame. Elias leaned forward. "Hold on," he said. He pushed the throttle and they shot off, the sled skimming over the sand. Vera felt the wind whip around her. Dust filled her eyes, but she refused to blink. The hunters chased them relentlessly, weaving between dunes to cut them off. Each turn felt sharper than the last. As they raced, Vera remembered the first time she had seen bounty hunters, On her homeworld, they had stormed her ship, claiming it as collateral. She had watched her career slip away as they tore through her maps and data. Now their cold intent glowed in the hunter's searchlights. Fear curled in her chest. She swallowed it and met Elias's eyes. He gave her a firm nod. "Stay with me," he said. Vera took a deep breath and gripped the sled tighter. They reached a narrow canyon, its walls rising like silent sentinels. Elias steered the sled into the passage, and the hunters followed. Vera held her breath as the searchlights swept across the rocky walls. The canyon walls closed in around them, casting dark shadows. The hunters might lose them here. Dust billowed behind the sled, obscuring their trail. Vera felt her pulse slow as hope rose. Maybe they could escape. A sudden jolt threw Vera against Elias's back. One hunter craft blocked the canyon entrance, ahead. Its searchlight shone directly at them, turning the canyon walls bright white. Elias slammed the brakes and the sled skidded to a halt. Vera stumbled but caught herself on the sled's frame. The hunter's craft hovered just beyond the light. Vera could almost see the faces of the pilots. They meant to capture her. Panic threatened to overwhelm her. Elias reached beside him and flipped another switch. A pulse of blue energy rippled from the sled's shield, striking the hunter craft's engines. The craft wobbled and dropped a few meters. Vera watched amazed. Elias's quick thinking had saved them. He pressed the throttle again and the sled roared forward, slipping past the fallen craft. Vera cheered, adrenaline flooding her veins. As they shot past the blocked entrance, the other hunters struggled to adjust. The canyon closed behind them, swallowing the searchlights. Once clear of the canyon, Elias guided the sled into a dry riverbed. Vera crouched low, her eyes stinging, but bright. The hunters circled above, scanning for their prey. Elias tapped his unit. "They're still searching," he said, "but we can lose them in the Badlands." He turned the sled deeper into the rocky terrain, where no crafts could follow easily. Vera watched the hunters' lights dance on the distant slopes. She felt a mix of relief and dread. When they reached a sheltered alcove, Elias shut down the sled's engines. The desert fell silent. Vera's legs trembled. She stepped off the sled and buried her face in her hands. The shock of the chase hit her all at once. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "This is my fault. They came for me." Elias placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "No," he said gently. "They came because they saw value in you, and they wanted to claim it. You did nothing wrong." His words soothed the tremors in her voice. They sat side by side on a flat rock. Vera told Elias about her past, the guild's betrayal, the loss of her ship, the cold dread of being a prize to hunters. Each word felt heavy, but she spoke freely. Elias listened without judgment, his expression soft and understanding. She finished, she looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Thank you for saving me," she said. "I thought I was alone in this galaxy." Elias smiled and offered her a cloth to wipe her tears. "You're not alone," he replied. "I'll protect you." Vera leaned her head on his shoulder. As the desert sun dipped toward the western dunes, they planned their next move. Together, they would face the shadows of the past and sail onward into the stars. Vera and Elias reached the edge of the Badlands just as the sun dipped below the rocky horizon. In the distance, they saw the silhouette of an old refueling station. The station had once served convoy traders, but now it stood silent and half-collapsed. Rusted fuel lines hung like broken arms, and tumbleweeds rolled through empty corridors. Elias guided the hover sled down a cracked ramp and cut the engines. The only sound was the soft scrape of metal against sand. They stepped out into the cooling air. Elias checked his comm unit. "This station is a good hiding place," he said, "but it is also home to a band of ex-soldiers. They control this ground." Vera's stomach tightened. Ex-soldiers could be dangerous or they could be allies. Elias placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We need their help to get off this world," he said. "They have a transport sled that runs to the spaceport on the outer rim." Vera nodded, though her heart raced. She rode beside Elias as he led the way through the station's main hall. The walls were lined with empty fuel canisters and broken control panels. At the far end, a flickering light marked the soldiers' camp. A low fire glowed in a barrel and figures moved in its circle. Their armor was mismatched, old military plates patched with scavenged metal. Their faces were hard, each with a story of survival. Elias raised his hand in greeting. "Hail," he called. "We seek safe passage off-world. In return, we offer help decoding a sealed data cache." The soldiers stiffened and drew their rifles. One stepped forward. He was tall and lean with a scar across his cheek. "Why should we trust traitors?" he asked, voice rough. "You humans always look for profit." Elias opened his palms. "No, profit," he said. "Only help. We need transport. You need help with the cache." He pointed to a battered crate beside Vera. "Inside is data that holds coordinates for abandoned supply caches, but it is encrypted. If we can unlock it, we share it with you." The scarred man looked at Vera. "And who are you, alien?" he sneered. Vera felt a flush of anger, but she kept her voice calm. "I am Vera Skal. I once mapped uncharted moons. I understand codes and patterns." She stepped forward into the firelight. "I know how to break encryption. I can help. You find those supply caches. You need food and parts. Let me guide you." The soldiers exchanged wary glances. The scarred leader narrowed his eyes. "You make a fine speech," he said, "but words don't fill bellies." He tapped his rifle against his armor. "Prove it. Show us you can help." Vera took a deep breath and knelt by the crate. She lifted the heavy lid and revealed a sleek data drive blinking with blue lights. "This drive holds data from the old mining guild," she explained. "They hid caches of fuel, water, and tools when they left. The system is locked by a 3-part cipher. I can decode it if I have time and a secure console." The leader watched her as she produced a slim, scanning tool. She placed it on the drive and connected the cables. A hollow display sprang to life, filled with shifting symbols. The soldiers leaned in. Vera's fingers flew over the interface. She muttered a few technical terms under her breath, adjusting parameters, matching patterns, and isolating code fragments. Elias stood close by with a handheld light, illuminating the console. After minutes that felt like hours, the symbols resolved into familiar maps and icons. Vera's lips curved in a small smile. "Here," she said, pointing to a map of local terrain. 3 caches lie within 50 kilometers. One in an old engineering bunk, another beneath the floodplain, and the third in a collapsed bunker near the eastern ridge. She tapped another icon. "Each cache holds enough fuel and rations to keep you supplied for months." The soldiers gasped. The scarred leader stepped forward and examined the display. He traced a finger along the cache markers. "You did it," he said quietly. "You broke the code." He looked at Vera with new respect. "Very well. We will give you transport off-world." He turned to his men. "Set up the sled. We move at dawn." Elias exhaled, relief shining in his eyes. He clapped Vera on the back. "You were amazing," he whispered. Vera felt a warm glow in her chest. For the first time since she arrived on Ether 7, she felt valued for her skills, not judged by her past. The soldiers fired a salute with raised fists. One offered Vera a canteen of clean water. Another handed over a simple meal of dried meat and vegetable bars. "Eat," the leader said. "You earned it." Vera accepted both with gratitude. She ate under the watchful eyes of her new allies, feeling the fatigue seep from her bones. As night deepened, Vera and Elias sat by the reborn fire. The soldiers' laughter and talk drifted around them. Vera looked at Elias. "Thank you for believing in me," she said softly. Elias smiled. "I always saw your worth," he replied, "and now others do too." Vera gazed into the flames. Tomorrow they would ride the transport sled to the spaceport. Ahead lay new dangers and challenges, but she did not fear them. She had found allies who respected her mind. She had earned her place. And as the embers glowed, Vera realized that her past and her skills could shape her future in ways she had never imagined. The cargo hold of the Astra's embrace was cramped, but humming with energy as the transport sled lifted off Ether 7 at dawn. Vera Sakal stood beside Elias Hart, her new coat cinched tight against the ship's recycled air. Below them, the red sands shrank into the distance. Vera exhaled, the steady vibration of the engines soothing her last trace of fear. Today, she would choose her path, no longer driven by hunger but by hope. Elias guided her through the narrow corridors to the navigation deck. Panels of glowing controls lined the walls. A single viewport framed the rosy haze of the planet fading behind them. "This is home now," Elias said, resting a hand on Vera's shoulder. "You earned a place here." Vera's heart fluttered as she gazed at the consoles. Each light and gauge promised a new beginning. He showed her the navigator's station, a curved desk with hollow charts of star lanes, fuel densities, and trade waypoints. "I want you here," Elias told her, "planning our routes and talking with new colonists we meet." Vera's fingers trembled over the stylus. She remembered how on her homeworld she charted crystal caverns by hand. Now she would plot courses through starlight. She nodded, voice tight with emotion. "I'd like that." Their first mission would take them to Ryland 3, a farming colony 2 parsecs away. The colony needed a hydropod technician and cultural liaison, someone who could translate alien customs and smooth trade talks. Vera's mind raced. She had never left the frontier worlds, yet she felt ready. Together, she and Elias walked through the ship's belly to meet the small crew, 2 mechanics, a pilot, and a cook. Each greeted Vera with polite nods. She introduced herself, her voice steady, and felt warmth spread through her limbs. That evening, as the Astra slipped into hyperspace, Vera sat at the navigator station under the gentle hum of ion drives. She overlaid gravitational maps onto star charts, marking a safe corridor around a volatile gas giant. Elias peered over her shoulder. "You're improving the route," he said quietly. "Your insight saved us 7 hours." Vera blinked, pride shining in her chest. "I remember the old star logs," she said. "I think I recognize patterns now." Elias smiled and squeezed her arm. "We'll go far together." In the days that followed, Vera learned the rhythms of ship life. At dawn, she calibrated the hydroponic bays, making sure lettuce and alien tubers grew in nutrient balance. The cook Mara taught her how to season the new greens with spices from distant worlds. Vera discovered that mixing cultures could taste delicious. She laughed as she accidentally oversalted a batch while Mara teased her with gentle jibes. For the first time, Vera felt part of a family. Later, she assisted the mechanics in repairing a damaged thruster manifold, wrapped in grease and wielding a plasma torch. Vera felt exhilaration pulse through her veins. Elias watched proudly as she fitted replacement conduits, her hands sure and skilled. When the manifold sealed and the thruster roared to life, the mechanics clapped. Vera grinned under the soot. She had gone from scavenging in dusty markets to mastering starship parts. The gulf between her past and present felt vast, and she embraced it. At night, Vera and Elias shared their dreams under the ship's narrow skylight. Stars streaked by as hyperspace shifts rippled the view. Elias spoke of building a network of aid stations on fringe worlds, places where refugees could find work and food without fear. Vera told him of her map archives, of secret wormholes she once charted in her mind. Their hands met on the console's edge. Together they sketched plans on a hollow pad, green dots for aid stations, lines connecting them like veins of hope. One morning, as they neared Relon 3, alarms shrieked. The ship shook with violent jolts. Vera's heart pounded. Through the viewport she saw a cluster of asteroids that the sensors had failed to detect. Elias yelled, "Brace yourself!" Vera grabbed the railing as the ship shuddered. Drawing. On her newly honed instincts, she tapped the controls and adjusted the approach vector. The ship veered just enough to slip between 2 massive rocks. Within moments they were clear, the hull's groan fading into silence. Elias exhaled deeply. You saved us again, he said, eyes bright with respect. Vera's mouth curved into a small smile. We saved each other, she replied. In that instant, she knew that her value lay not only in her skills but in the partnership they shared, a bond forged in fire and kindness. As the Astra's embrace dropped out of hyperspace above Rylan 3, the colony's green fields and glass-domed farms spread beneath them. Vera steadied herself by the viewport. Below, humanoids and alien farmers tended hydroponic groves side by side. A gentle breeze rustled the crops, and she felt a surge of belonging. This was the world she would help. This was the life she chose. Elias slipped an arm around her waist. Ready? He asked. Vera's gaze lingered on the vibrant fields. She nodded, turning to face him. I'm ready. Together, they activated the landing thrusters. As the ship descended toward a new home, Vera Sakal stepped into her future, not as someone driven by desperation, but as a navigator of hope, charting courses for worlds yet to bloom. The docking bay of Jaren Prime Station glowed in soft, white light as Vera Sakal and Elias Hart stepped onto its metal floor. Behind them, the Astra's embrace hummed with idle power. Around them, humans and aliens moved through the station's arches, carrying crates of food and supplies. The air smelled of fresh bread from the bakery dome and the faint tang of recycled oxygen. Vera felt her heart beat in quiet wonder. This place felt alive with possibility. Elias guided Vera toward a small landing platform overlooking the station's inner ring. Beyond the railing, the planet's blue-green surface turned beneath them in slow rotation. Streams of ships glided like silent fish through the void. The sight filled Vera with awe. She pressed both hands to the railing and leaned forward, her fine hair drifting in the gentle breeze from the station's vents. Elias stepped close beside her. In his hand, he held a small data ring, its surface etched with glowing lines of code. Vera turned to him, curiosity shining in her eyes. I wanted to do something special, he said softly. Something that comes from both our worlds. He opened his palm and revealed the ring. It captured the station's light and refracted it in tiny rainbows. Vera's breath caught. Elias, what is this? She asked, her voice trembling. He took a deep breath and dropped to one knee. Around them, footsteps and soft voices paused as nearby travelers noticed the moment. Vera Sakal, Elias began, his gaze steady and loving. You came to this world alone and hungry. You trusted a stranger and shared your story. You showed courage when danger came. You brought hope and kindness to my life. I cannot imagine my future without you. Will you marry me and share every dawn and every star with me? Tears filled Vera's eyes as she looked at the ring. It was small, but the lines engraved in its metal spoke of two worlds joined. She felt the warmth of Elias's hand, steady and true. Around them, the hum of the station seemed to hush. In that quiet, she heard her own heart. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times, yes. She knelt beside him and slipped the ring onto her finger. The metal felt cool, then brightened with a soft glow as if welcoming her promise. Elias rose and embraced her. Around them, strangers cheered and clapped, offering smiles and nods of approval. Thank you, Elias said into her hair. Thank you for trusting me. Vera lifted her face and smiled, cheeks warm. Thank you for giving me hope, she said. For showing me kindness. They walked hand in hand toward a small chapel built into the station's curve. Its walls were simple, glass panels that looked out onto the spinning world below. Inside, a few friends had gathered, the former ex-soldiers who had helped them escape, the mechanics and cook from the Astra's embrace, and a cluster of colonists they had aided on Rylan 3. At the front stood a human elder and an alien pilgrim, ready to bind two lives in the station's multicultural tradition. The elder spoke first. Vera Sakal of Rigor Prime and Elias Hart of Earth, today you unite two paths. May your shared journey be guided by trust and respect. The pilgrim offered a woven cord made of human silk and alien fiber. Place this cord around each other's hands, the pilgrim said. Elias and Vera stepped forward. They held hands, in the center of the circle as the cord wrapped gently around their joined wrists. The elder continued, "Speak the vows that bond you." Elias looked at Vera and spoke first. "I promise to protect you in darkness and light. I promise to share my strength and learn from yours. I promise to chart our course together, through every star and unknown world." Vera's voice was steady as she replied, "I promise to stand by you in calm and storm. I promise to share my maps and my heart. I promise to trust you, to grow with you, and to build our home wherever we wander." The pilgrim tied the cord in a simple knot and said, "As this knot binds your hands, so your promises bind your hearts." The group applauded softly. The echo of friendly voices filled the chapel. Outside, the station's bay doors opened, revealing the planet's curve against the black sky. Vera and Elias stepped back onto the platform. They stood beneath a drifting ribbon of station lights that twinkled like distant stars. Elias swept Vera into his arms and spun her once. Laughter bubbled between them. Their friends gathered around, offering food trays filled with sweet pastries and fruit. Vera bit into a soft tart, its flavor bright with alien berries. Elias handed her a glass of sparkling water. She raised it to him. "To new beginnings," she said. He clinked his glass against hers. "To every tomorrow," he replied. As the station's artificial sun rose over Jaren Prime's horizon, Vera looked at Elias and at the circle of friends. She felt a strong sense of home. The ring on her finger glowed softly, reflecting hope and belonging. No longer was she a stranger selling herself for food. She was a wife, a partner, and a navigator of dreams. Above them, a transport craft lifted off for distant worlds. Vera squeezed Elias's hand. "Ready?" she asked, her eyes bright.